So, our first subtitle for today, we're going to talk about a timeline of secession. Now, at this point, the South is being kind of led by a new man who's replaced Calhoun as one of the leaders of the South, and that is Alexander Stephens. He will eventually become the vice president of the Confederacy. Now, he is, like Calhoun, very ardently pro slavery and defends the South's right to secede. And South Carolina during this time is the emotional center of the South. They are the ones that are the most violently pro slavery of all the states and the leader of secession. Now, by this time, Lincoln has been elected as president, but he has not yet taken office. And he recognizes that secession is technically illegal according to the Constitution. Buchanan, the current president, also states that secession is illegal, but he doesn't really do anything to dissuade the Southerners. And if you'll remember from our last lesson, the Southerners promised that if Lincoln was elected president, then they would secede from the Union. And on December 20th, 1860, with a unanimous vote in the legislature, South Carolina secedes from the Union. The vote is 169-0 to pass the Ordinance of Secession. At the same time, they also call up a 10,000-man militia to defend their state against a presumed Union attack. But the main fear of South Carolina at this time is that no other states will stand with them, and they will end up seceding alone and dealing with the full force of the Union alone. This happened before with the nullification crisis, when South Carolina nullified a law and no other states followed suit. But what they don't know is that 6 other states were already forming conventions for secession. Now, even though South Carolina seceded, Buchanan still refused to take a stand, and this kind of encourages more southern states to secede and angers the Northerners even more. He's kind of just waiting out his time in office. And by the time Lincoln enters the presidency in March, 32 states has become 25. In January of 1861, 5 more states secede all at once. Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, and Louisiana all vote to secede from the Union and join South Carolina as the now Confederate States of America. In fact, on February 23rd, 1861, Texas also secedes from the Union. President Sam Houston actually disapproved of the entire idea of secession, and he made himself immensely unpopular late in his life because he did so. And he tried to use his authority to overturn the ruling, but he was removed from office. He told Texas what would happen if they seceded, that things were not going to go well for them. Nevertheless, they did so anyway. He said, "I still believe that secession will bring ruin and civil war, yet if the people will it, I can bear it with them." But Houston would die in 1863, still during the war, and his final words were, "Texas, Texas, Margaret," said to his wife on his deathbed. A little bit later, several other states also seceded from the Union in May of 1861. They waited until after Lincoln called up the army to secede and were hesitating before that. Those states are Tennessee, Arkansas, and North Carolina. Virginia also decided to secede at that same time, and when Virginia decided to secede, West Virginia, the area now known as West Virginia, decided that they were going to secede from Virginia and join the Union as one of the border states that had slaves but did not secede. Those border states in our map in yellow are Maryland, Delaware, Missouri, Kentucky, and West Virginia. These are all states that did have slaves and in which slavery was legal, but decided not to secede from the Union, although it was a constant concern for the Union and for Lincoln in particular that these states would get fed up with the Union and would secede. So altogether, the seceded states formed the Confederate States of America and prepared for a possible war with the Union.